So, you want to own a skyscraper. You want to mark the skyline of a global city. Join the ranks of the world's most elite landlords and own a vertical city of your own. It's the ultimate symbol of corporate power and billionaire ambition. But owning a skyscraper is not just about collecting rent from a high floor. It's a brutal math problem where gravity is your biggest expense and the wind is your biggest enemy. From the multi-billion-dollar construction cost and the nightmare of the vertical logistics to the hidden economics of view premiums and the constant threat of obsolescence, owning a skyscraper is a high-altitude gamble. In this video, we break down the staggering cost of building a 70-story monolith, reveal why the middle of the building is often a financial dead zone, and explore the hidden math that determines if a skyscraper is a money printer or a vertical debt trap. Real numbers, real engineering, the business of owning the sky. In our analysis of the economics of owning a shopping mall, we talked about horizontal scale. But with a skyscraper, the math goes vertical. The land first. You need land in a tier 1 city center like New York, London, or Dubai. You are not just buying a plot, you are buying the air rights in Manhattan. Land alone for a skyscraper can cost $100 million to $300 million. The construction. Building up is exponentially more expensive than building out. The foundation. You need to dig hundreds of feet into the bedrock. This stage alone can cost $50 million to $100 million before the first floor even appears. The core. The center of the building, the concrete core that holds the elevators and stairs, which is the most expensive part. It takes up valuable square footage but generates zero rent. The wind problem. At 1000 feet, wind can sway a building by several feet. To stop your tenants from getting seasick, you need a turned mass damper, a massive steel ball at the top that acts as a counterweight. Cost $5 million to $10 million. Total capex for a modern skyscraper, you are looking at a minimum of $600 million to $1.5 billion. But the streaker price is only half the story. The other half is time, and in construction, time is the most expensive material of all. The, vec- the vertical supply chain. On a horizontal project, you can bring materials in from every direction at once. On a skyscraper, everything steel beams, glass panels, concrete, drywall, and even the coffee for the crew has to travel up a single narrow spine of cranes and hoists. Above the 40th floor, logistics planners call this the vertical bottleneck. Every extra minute a crane spends moving a beam is a minute that it is not moving the next one, and a $1 billion job site. An idle crane can burn through $10,000 to $20,000 a day in installed labor alone. The steel and glass bill. A super tall tower can require upwards of 40,000 tons of structural steel and hundreds of thousands of square feet of custom curtain wall glass. Steel prices swing with global commodity markets, which means your fixed construction budget is never really fixed. A single price spike in raw materials can add tens of millions of dollars to the project before a single tenants move in. The timeline takes. A super tall skyscraper typically takes 5 to 7 years from groundbreaking to grand opening. During that entire window, you are paying interest on a construction loan without collecting a single dollar of rent. One on a $1 billion loan, even a modest interest rate means tens of millions of dollars a year simply evaporate before the building or generates any income at all. This is why developers call the pre-leasing period the money furnace. It burns cash and produces nothing but concrete. Running a skyscraper is an operational nightmare that rivals the economics of owning an airport or a hospital. Vertical logistics. In a skyscraper, the elevator is your highway, but elevators are a financial trap. The higher you build, the more elevators you need. The more elevators you add, the less floor space you have to rent out. This is the efficiency ratio. A good skyscraper has 70% rentable space. A bad one has 50%. Maintenance. A single elevator bank can cost $1 lakh a month in electricity and specialized maintenance, energy and HVAC. Keeping a glass box cool in the summer and warm in the winter is incredibly inefficient. A skyscraper's utility bill can easily hit $1 million a month. Window washing. Unlike a supermarket, you can't just hire a janitor. You need a specialized teams and robotic straddles. Cleaning the glass of a major tower costs roughly $2 lakh per cycle, but the elevator and the window washers are just the visible cost. The invisible ones are what quietly eat your margin. Staffing a vertical city. A super tall tower is not just a building, it functions like its own small municipality. You need round-the-clock security teams monitoring dozens of floors, concierge staff for tenants, engineers on call for the mechanical systems, and cleaning crews working overnight shifts because you can't shut a skyscraper down during the day. Payroll for a fully staffed trophy tower can quietly run into the tens of millions of dollars a year, long before you have paid a cent toward the mortgage. Fire and life safety. Above a certain height, fire department physically cannot reach the upper floors with a ladder truck. That means the building has to fight its own fires. Pressurized stair walls, refuge floors, industrial-grade sprinkler systems, and redundant backup generators are not optional extras. They are the core requirements, and retrofitting or maintaining them can cost millions annually. The insurance premium. Because a skyscraper concentrates so much value and so much risk into one vertical footprint, insurers treat it differently than almost any other asset class. Premiums covering fire, structural risk, and terrorism can run into millions of dollars every single year, making insurance one of the largest recurring the line items on the balance sheet, right alongside property tax. How do you make the money back? It all comes down to the floor yield, the rent hierarchy, the retail base. The first two floors are your highest earners per square foot. This is where high-end brands pay a premium for foot traffic. The office middle. This is the bulk of your revenue. Large corporations sign 10 to 20-year leases. The residential top. The penthouses. This is where the view premium kicks in. A 60th floor apartment can rent for 5x more than a 10th floor unit, despite having the exact same square footage. The observation deck. The smartest skyscraper owners have figured out a secret revenue stream. Tourism. The observation deck at the Burj Khalifa or the Empire State Building can generate more profit than several floors of office space combined. It's pure passive income once the initial elevator is built. And once you start looking for it, you realize the tower is monetizing space you would never even think to rent out. Naming rights. Corporations will pay enormous annual sums just to put their logo on their crown of the building. A tower's name is not just a branding, it's a recurring revenue line that can rival a full floor of office leases, and it costs the landlord nothing to deliver. The rooftop economy. The very top of the building, once just structural dead space, has become one of the most profitable square footages in the entire tower. Rooftop bars, restaurants, and event venues charge a premium simply for the altitude, turning what used to be a mechanical equipment space into some of the highest revenue per square foot real estate in the building. The invisible tenant. Telecom companies will pay handsomely to mount cellular antennas and broadcast equipment on the roof. It's a tenant that never complains about noise, never needs a parking spot, and never misses a rent payment. Pure margin sitting on the top of the building you already built. There is why a famous theory called Skyscraper Index. It suggests that the completion of the world's tallest building often coincides with the start of a major economic crash. The obsolescence risk. A skyscraper built in 1990 is now Class B real estate. It doesn't have the fiber optic speeds, green energy ratings, open floor plans that modern tech companies demand. To upgrade an old skyscraper to Class A status can cost $100 million to $200 million. If your anchor tenant leaves and you can't find a replacement, your billion-dollar asset becomes a vertical liability overnight. Just like shopping mall, If vacancy hits 30%, you are no longer making a profit. You are just bleeding cash to keep the lights on. The risk doesn't stop at the market scale. Either it's packed into the Either it's baked into the ground the tower stands on. The seismic and climate tags. In earthquake prone sites, a supertail structure needs base isolators and dampening systems engineered to survive a major quake without collapsing. As climate risk models get more aggressive, insurers and lenders are repricing that risk every few years, meaning the cost of simply keeping the building insurable can quietly climb even if nothing about the tower itself has changed. The remote work shockwave. Perhaps the biggest modern threat to the skyscraper business model didn't come from an earthquake or a recession. It came from a laptop and a home office. As companies shrank their office footprints, some towers built for 95% occupancy found themselves fighting to stay above 60%. A half-empty skyscraper still needs full elevator maintenance, full HVAC power, and full staffing. The fixed costs don't shrink just because the tenants did. The white elephant warning. History is full of super tall towers built at the peak of the boom that opened right as the market turned, leaving owners holding a trophy asset nobody could afford to lease. It's the clearest proof of the skyscraper index in action, the ribbon cutting ceremony and the recession arriving on the same calendar page. So, if the risks are this steep, how does anyone actually cash out of a skyscraper? The truth is, very few owners plan to hold a super tall tower forever, like a professional sports team. The real money is often made at the scale, not the rent roll. The cap rate game. Skyscrapers are valued using a metric called capitalization rate. Essentially, how much annual profit the building produces relative to its price. Trophy towers in global cities often trade at unusually low cap rates because buyers are not just purchasing rental income, they are purchasing prestige, and prestige commands a premium. The sovereign wealth buyer. The ultimate buyer for a super tall skyscraper often is not a real estate company at all. It's a sovereign wealth fund, a pension fund, or a foreign investment arm looking for a stable, trophy grade place to park billions of dollars for decades. These buyers care less about squeezing out the last percentage point of yield and more about owning a piece of skyline that will never stop being famous. The REIT scape hatch. For owners who want liquidity without a headline making sale, falling the tower into a real investment trust lets them sell shares of the building rather than the building itself, turning one illiquid billion-dollar asset into thousands of tradable units on a stock exchange. It's the closest thing the skyscraper business has to pressure release valve. Is owning a skyscraper is a good business? If you have the capital and the 50 years patience, it's the ultimate trophy asset. It offers stable long-term cash flow and massive tax depreciation benefits, but it is not for the faint of heart. One bad economic cycle or shift in work from home culture can turn your skyline dream into a concrete nightmare. Thanks for watching The Hidden Math of Owning the Sky.